two. Well, bad. I think the sound. Can anyone hear me? 1 2 1 2. I think our sound is messed up. Press 1 if you can hear me. 1 2 1 2. Press 1. You guys can hear me. I think our sound. I'm not sure. Okay, you guys can hear me. Wonderful. Aha. Perfect. I was thinking the sound was in the on the fritz. Okay, that's what's up. I can be heard. I can be heard. I can be heard. That is what's up. Roll back. Moisa. Roll back. Welcome. Kabul. Kabul means welcome in our Lahaj language, Sabatia. Welcome, Moisa. Kabul, Moisa. Welcome, family. Welcome, YouTube family out there. We have a lot to cover. Wow. Okay. So much. But peace to everyone. Much love. We're here. Just so you know, we're here every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. teaching Wu-Sabat. Our culture, our way. Join us. Spread the word. Let people know. You know, it's about spreading the good news. It's about spreading the good news all the time. Solving the problems, solving the challenges that we're dealing with around the world. But greetings to everyone. Welcome to everyone. Now, for those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Teptu Bre'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Pandabab Yunanin, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture. We identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Nuwaubu, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of the Hutui. In essence, our culture is about being in harmony with natural nature. Our culture is about living in harmony with natural nature, as opposed to how our people are living today. We're living adverse to nature, and this is why there's so much suffering. And we argue the only way we can solve our problems as a people is for us to get away from the foreign cultures that has led to our suffering, and for us to get back to our original culture of Wu-Sabat, our culture that we lived prior to 6,000 years ago. In harmony, we are an ancient people. We are an ancient people who predate all people. We come from advanced cultures, advanced societies, and we forgot. We literally forgot our origins. And this is the purpose of our teachings today at Wu-Sabat, is to re-educate our people about who and what we are, what we represent, and our goals, that we set forth. Our goals, we have so many goals, so many things that we have to do as a people. And, we're dedicated to our, re-education in the culture of Wu-Sabat. So again, I welcome all. Let's see, every week before we get started, we always open up with a prayer, with our prayers. Keep in mind, our culture is about spiritual development. as melanated people, as African people, as native people, indigenous people, we always were lived based, based on our spirituality, our spiritual systems, and prayer is a part of that. For those who do not know that, prayer is our way of communicating with our ancestors who exist on the higher abodes, the higher dimensions, and we have many different rituals that we utilize to make contact with them. And prayer is just one of those, And so we do our prayer in our lahaj, which means language, Sabian, right? And we translate it for English. So for you guys who are new, you could just follow us. And hopefully in time, you'll be able to say the prayers yourselves in Sabian. If I'm choppy, guys, let me know. Press 2 if you think I'm choppy. I don't know if it's everyone or just some of you guys. Press 1 if my sound is okay. Press 2 if it's choppy, just so I know. The key. I'm not sure. It looks okay on my end, but I'm not sure how everyone else might be hearing the sound. Okay. So, all right, that's what's up. So someone's probably having a challenge with the sound. Maybe you want to check your sound if everyone else is okay with it. It looks okay on my part. I'll say that. Okay, so let's get started. Badei kala namasa wufad ko amaya kasamun shilal po'ut. Pasawa wupa taruk. Panen safa kawun. Pasawa wupa tarak. Z kawuna nazula laha enkum. Mane sabat Wu-Sabat. Amaya hadayan shafayun. Mane salafu wunataru. Ajula yana fasu kum. Afuk shane kawun kuma. Pasawa wupa tarak. This book is the truth and the way. It was sent down for you all from Sabat Wu-Sabat, star constellation, as a guidance and a healing. From your ancestors and overseers, return to your own. Accept what is yours, the truth and the way. And nun tawa ankum lahe panan shafe'un wu alaj. And nun tawa ankum lahe nasuinun. And nun tawa ankum lahe ashuk. Ankum at the salafunun. Anunata kharat ukum. Anum talub nasar kuma. Anun talub nasar kuma. And so nun sayim nataru. And so nun salafunun. Anunata Nuwaubu. We thank you all for this healing and cure. We thank you all for not forgetting us. We thank you all for Ashuk. You are our ancestors. We are your children. We seek your help. We seek your help. Help us, divine overseers. Help us, our ancestors. We are Wussabout. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amen. Jennifer. Alrighty then. Wawed. Good. Okay, so let's see. Every class discussion, we always go over the core principles of Wu-Sabat for those who may not be familiar with the culture. This is why we do it. And for those who are familiar with the culture, we go over it for the sole purpose of memory drill. Obviously, the goal is to apply the principles, to live our principles, to represent those principles, to be able to teach those principles. So that's why we feel imperative that, we always go over these things, right? For everyone's edification. And all of our discussions, our lectures are based around the core principles to give more clarity to the significance and the power of the principles and why we stress it so much, so important to live by, right? So principle number 1 is Ashuk or Ashak, and it stands for divine love or the power of love. Our whole culture is based around it. Existence itself is based around Ashak. And we did a discussion on that, a lecture, so definitely check that out. We highly recommend always watching lectures more than once, right? We always say that. Principle number 2 is resurrection. Resurrection is about becoming goddesses and gods once again by learning to open your third eye. as your ancestors once had. You know, all of their third eyes were open, and our third eyes closed, and that cut us off from the spiritual realms. It cut us off from making contact or being in constant communication with our ancestors on the higher realms. So the goal of all Sabians is to strive to reopen your third eye. Right? And we did a discussion on that. So definitely check that out. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutri and Ma'at. Our culture, Ma'at, or excuse me, the Hutri stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for order. Right? We did discussions on that. So definitely check that out. Principle number 4 is relationships. As African people, as indigenous people, we always live of, for, and by each other. You know, in harmony. Our culture was based on egalitarianism, something we're going to probably talk about today. And we did a lecture on that, so definitely check that out. Principle number 5 is morphic resonance / matrix. Morphic resonance deal with sounds, tones, colors, frequencies, vibrations. And matrices are the manifestations of those sounds, tones, colors, frequencies, vibrations. All of existence is based on morphic resonances. Principle number 6 is Leviathan. Leviathan stands for moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. This is what we've been at war with for the last 6,000 years. Is Leviathan, especially for the last 500 years under racism, white supremacy. You know, and we did a discussion on that, so definitely check that lecture out. Principle number 7 is souls and spirit. Your soul is your emotional force. Your spirit is your life force, and we did a lecture on that, so definitely check that out. Principle number 8 is health. The first key to health is a positive mind. As melanated people, you need a lot of sunlight, right? Water, the body is 70% water at least. Fasting, we recommend fasting at least once or twice a week. Herbal diet, as Dr. Sabi has taught us. Exercise, rhythmic breathing, meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. As we always say, health is not just what you do physically, but it's also what you do spiritually. The reason why our people are suffering health-wise is because they lost this right knowledge, that you balance your health through maintaining both principles. The physical things you do for health as much as the spiritual things you must do for health. There are no exceptions if you want to be healthy. And we did a discussion on that, so check that out. Principle number 9 is Pa'ot, which is the creative force. The Smat, existence is based on perpetual cycles called the Smat. And Achach, creation energy, we identify as Achach, right? And we did a discussion on that. Now, as Sabians, we have 3 primary goals. As students of Wu-Sabat, goal number 1 is to raise the self. Goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And goal number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. Now, in goal number 1, in raising the self, you must become born again, as Christians teach, by learning the culture of Wu-Sabat and live it, right? So give up the old for the new. Give up the Western cultural behavior, addictions that we've developed here, and to replace it with Wu-Sabat, right? That's being born again. And one of the first goals is to correct your name, right? So taking on a Sabian name, that's key. Names are key. You must also correct how you look and dress, right? We always recommend cultural clothing. Identify with the culture when it's appropriate, of course, right? You know, you must learn to speak the language, Sabian. That's extremely important. First key towards resurrecting is the language. And you must study our doctrine every day, which builds your sound right reasoning skills. By studying the doctrine, family, this is how you're going to help yourself make better decisions. I can't stress that enough. I can't stress it enough. You must practice and master our daily rituals to turn yourself inside out. This is how you open your third eye, through the rituals. Mastery of the rituals. And you must always be positive if you want to accomplish any worthwhile goal. Now, goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. This includes working a free Padabat Yunanin, promoting Wu-Sabat, become a student teacher, and fight the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, which are our ignorance, Leviathan feeds off of, our fear, our ego, our angers, our lust/desires, and our lies/deceptions. That's how Leviathan gets strong. because we feed it through those principles. We must conquer that. And the last goal is to work to build Sabbatia, right? We must reestablish our own communities. So we work to support each other in business. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for partner thought in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government. And Ashuk is the key to accomplish all our goals. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabian? A Sabian is someone who's thoughtful and cares, someone who's helpful and honest, someone who's responsible and hardworking, someone who is demands justice and honorable, someone's righteous and humble, someone who is excited and cheerful, someone who's loving and peaceful, someone who is kind and considerate, and someone who is neat, clean, and orderly. Our purpose. As Sabians, our purpose is liberation from adverse forces. So one, you must take action each and every day to free yourself of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirit forces. 2, acknowledge and fight the 6 ether from promoting capitalism, the gay agenda, miscegenation, the so-called equality of the races, and racism, white supremacy. And 3, learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature. And each one teach one. Word of advice: do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Panabat Yananan nor his students. Judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka information, that you personally put to practical use. This doctrine is based on self-authentication. Know that we are not preachers, but teachers who are dedicated to answering questions until there's a meeting of the minds between teacher and student, who then can work in unity, which is the only solution to our problems. Now, what you do for yourself in kind depends on what you think of yourself in kind. And what you think of yourself in kind depends on what you know of yourself in kind. And what you know of yourself in kind depends on what you was taught and by whom of yourself in kind. Quote, until a lion has their historians, the hunter will always be the hero. And quote, the negative mind talks of what we can't and will not do for self and kind, always complaining about who they don't like or trust, whereas the positive mind always maintains the peace by not complaining about that in which they do not like, but focus on finding solutions to their problems, never allowing obstacles to get in their way of growth. Alrighty then. Okay, so now today's discussion. Let's see. Someone asked a question. Peace, good brother. Question: how come so many superstars like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and the likes avoided Nuwaubu when Dr. York was among them in the music industry? Question: should we go under the cloak of religion again to reach people with Wu-Sabat? Excellent questions, and we're actually going to cover that today. This is why we had the image of this particular discussion. We had the image of that young brother who transitioned, right? The brother Takeoff. And so today's discussion is Wu-Sabat is the way for all Black people. And our people will continue to suffer unless they realize that Wu-Sabat is the only way. There is no other options. So, look at all of these individuals who are transitioning. They're young and they're transitioning. Yeah. Look at that. Another, brother dead. Another one. Okay. Mhm. Uh, guys, can you hear me? Press one. I was having sound problems again. Press one if you guys can hear me. I'm getting this spam also. Okay, perfect. You guys can hear me. Yeah, so you guys see, these rappers. Really? Okay. Yeah. All these brothers, our people, so many of our people have transitioned. So many individuals have transitioned, right? Biggie, gone. Young, before their time. He should be alive. Tupac, gone. Young, before his time. He should be alive. Michael Jackson, gone. Right? Prince, gone. Whitney Houston, gone. All of these individuals. Why? The culture, this poison culture, family. Marvin Gaye, gone. Shot by his own father. You know, gone. All these individuals who should be around. Jam Master Jay, gone. Shot. All these individuals before their time. Nipsey Hussle, gone. Shot. I mean, it's insane. Malcolm X, y'all know, right? Shot, killed, gone. Martin Luther King, shot, killed, gone. All these individuals, look at him. Disease, illnesses we never had until we started living with these foreigners, gone. These crazy illnesses, crazy accidents. Kobe Bryant, gone. All these Sam Cooke, gone. Jimi Hendrix, gone. The list is crazy. Donny Hathaway, gone. Frankie Lyman, gone. So many individuals gone before their time. So many individuals gone before their time. The culture, that's the common denominator. The common denominator. This poison culture. Here's a guy who was in the music industry talking about it. Listen. Can you guys hear the video? Can you hear the video? Press one. Uh, they might have done something to stop us from playing videos. If y'all can't hear it, okay. Wow. Yeah, they probably did something. And I wish y'all could hear this because this is a really good one. So okay, I have to actually download these videos so that you guys can hear them. That was a really good one because that was a music executive talking about how he was paid extra money to do the rap videos, the negative rap videos. He was paid, and he basically because he knew a lot of rappers, and so he was warning them, and he's warning our community to cut it out. to cut out promoting this negative music that the music industry, the music executives are pushing on us. And he's explaining, you guys have to understand, you guys are being exploited and you have to stop. You know, this is something Kanye West has been talking about. You know, it's sad and it's frightening. It's a huge problem for us. But the culture, this is why we said Wu-Sabat is the way. It's the way for our people. They don't comprehend it. You know, it's a responsibility of all students of Wu-Sabat to teach. So many of our people dead from the poison, the poison culture, from our health. So many of us has transitioned because of poor health. So many of us transitioned because of mental health issues. So many of us have transitioned because of violence. So many of us have transitioned just by accidents. It's all related to one thing: poison culture that taught us not to be in harmony with natural nature. This is why we're suffering. This is why Wu-Sabat is here as this only solution to the problem. It's the only solution. Here's a particular scroll that came out. The master teacher, we put this book came out last year. The name of the book is Pa. Let's see, Mijsar. Pa Mijsar. Layeh Tachlus. Pa Mijsar. Layeh Tachlus. That translates as Pa Mijsar means the bridge. Layeh to Tachlus, salvation or toward salvation. So it'll be translated as the bridge towards salvation. Pa Mijsar Layeh Tachlus. And this particular scroll is dedicated to explaining what it means to be a Sabian. I repeat, this scroll came out last year. And this scroll is what it says, the bridge towards salvation, which is Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat is that bridge towards salvation. We're going to continue to see these deaths. We're going to continue to see this suffering until we take on the culture that will protect us away from this poison system we're living. Wu-Sabat is the only solution. It is the bridge towards salvation. The culture that we're living now, Western culture, European culture, is the culture of death. We all should know this. We all should know this, right? This is the death culture. So this particular scroll is explaining how Wu-Sabat is the solution. Anun safura tawal mashay bi lawet on sabal. That translate as we took a long walk on a short path. What that is the master said the long walk is the amount of information he had to teach us to resurrect. The short path was the amount of time of all of the things we had to learn. You got to keep in mind, we had 6,000 years of amnesia, 6,000 years that we've been in a state of chaos. And the master teacher had to give us so much knowledge about what happened to us to restore our memories in a short span of time. He was given 2 half-hour periods, which symbolically stands for 30 years. He had the first 30 years from 1970 to the year 2000, which is he was with us physically, guiding us, resurrecting us mentally. And then we had the next half hour or 30 years from the year 2000 to 2030, where the transformation must take place. We must transform. We must restore our third eyes. We must learn to make communication with our ancestors on a higher abodes for the purpose of guidance and correct decision-making skills. It is once we are able to connect personally with our ancestors, you will receive a higher level of education about existence and how to deal with these adverse forces. That is why it's so important that every student of Wu-Sabat develop themselves spiritually to communicate with their ancestors. JC Goodwin, if you're asking about the book, yeah, it's on a you can get access to the scrolls from our bookstores, and we have an online bookstore which is Sabians Worldwide, I believe .com, SabiansWorldwide.com, or Sabian Nation Worldwide. So now this book, Pa Michsar Leyer Tachlus, The Bridge Towards Salvation. This particular book, like I said, explains what it means to be a Sabian. Explains what it means to be a Sabian. Extremely important. Okay? Because this culture of death, it's just endless. So many of our people are transitioned in this culture since we've been here for 500 years under the oppression of our adversaries. You know? Now, this says here, Enkum Chasul Khatatkum Lakay Naduf Zi Shalel Wasach Anduf Leneh Akalkum Shalel Wasach. That translate, you wash your body to clean it of filth. Clean also your mind of filth. This is what Wu-Sabat is about, cleaning our minds. The reason why we are suffering is because our minds have been polluted with false information. And false information leads to false decisions or bad decisions. And those bad decisions is what leads to our suffering. The reason why our people all over the globe are making such bad decisions is because of the bad information they've been given. And this is why Wu-Sabat is the solution, is the salvation, to clean up our minds so that we can stop making these irrational decisions that lead to our suffering. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Oraha Shafaf Akhatat Patanun. It's so many of our people have transitioned because of our ignorance to Wu-Sabat. You know, and so we're living this lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of death, the culture of death. This is all the Mukasu know. They don't know anything. All they know is death. Their culture is based around death. I've said this many times before. Remember, guys, they are Viking culture, right? Thor, Vikings. That's what their culture is. Odin, right? Frida, Loki. The Viking culture is the culture of death, war, bloodshed. That's how they get to heaven. Their heaven is Valhalla. Valhalla, you get to Valhalla through war, bloodshed. You have to die in war in order to get to their heaven. This is why they have us what? Worshiping God, their God. That we learned about their God in their Bible and their Quran. When you ask them who is God, what do they tell us? They tell us God is a spirit. They say God is a spirit. And you say, well, what kind of spirit is it? They say it's a Holy Ghost. They teach us that their spirit, the spirit of God, is a Holy Ghost. What is ghost? Ghost is death. See the trick? Our people don't get it. They tell us that God is a spirit. Then they say the spirit is a Holy Ghost and ghost is death. They all tell you that. You become a ghost when you die. Casper, the so-called friendly ghost. Ghost represents death. So God is a representation of the death spirit forces, the spirits of the dead. So whenever you calling on God, praying to God, know that you're calling and praying to death spirit forces, ghost forces. And our people are trying to figure out why they're suffering, because they're praying to the spirits of the dead. They're wearing these crosses around their necks. Those are symbols of death. The Romans used that as a symbol to crucify. Crucifixion are symbols of death. And we wonder why we're like surprised when someone dies. We worship the dead. We're calling on the dead spirit forces. It's no joke, guys. I'm like, all we gotta do, anyone who looks at the European culture, history, sees all they know is death, murder, destruction, killing. They don't know anything else. That's their spirit force. Yeah. And they got our people worshiping it by the millions, the hundreds of millions of people are worshiping these death forces. This is the right knowledge that our people must have to stop calling on these death forces. And they wonder why they're getting in these car crashes and dying in them or losing body limbs. Or you're getting cancer, or you're getting high blood pressure, or you're getting diabetes, or you're getting all kinds of illnesses from AIDS to herpes to whatever. Anything to cause suffering. The spirit forces, they feed off of suffering. They feed off of lust. The spirits of the dead. That's right. The Ankh is the symbol of life. The cross is the symbol of the dead. And they got our people running around with tattoos all over their bodies of these freaking death forces, these symbols of death. Pa Mitzar Layer Tachlus. Ania Mumra Mukhrad U Shilil Wu-Sabat. Enkum at the Pa Mitzar Layer Pa Mukhrad U Shilil Pa Tachlus. That translates, my beloved children of Wu-Sabat, you are the bridge towards the children of salvation. I, Pa Mumbab Yanun, have incarnated with Pa Shafei, the cure. This is the cure, guys, this right knowledge to the people's ignorance with Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat is the cure. And you, guys, you, the children of Wu-Sabat, as Musba'u, Sabians, are Pa Mudmal'u. You are the doctors. Pa Mublach'u. You are the messengers. Pa Mukhlas'u. You are the saviors. Take this Shafei cure and break the spell of Kingle, Leviathan. You in the 1600s living in the West were called the Wabi-Naki, Native Americans, which became many sub-tribes, such as the Yamasi, which means gentle, from the old ones, from the stars, Anasazi, which means I am unique, Musba'u, Sabians, Napatan, Nuwapians, the African black people, originals of the Musnanu, the Sands people of South Africa, who spread the world over. Yet, those that remain in the motherland, Africa today, were taken into other Rasayat lands, first by the Muarabu, the Arabs of Arabia. Next, the Muirabu, the Europeans of Meirapia, Europe, and to the Amaria, which is America, or that damn Erica, to be in bondage for 400 years, right? We've been in bondage under these adverse spirits, running around with human bodies, called the Mukasu or the Caucasian race. Though they're ghosts, they're the children of ghost spirit forces, guys. Those are the spirits that activate their bodies, the children of the dead. And Wu-Sabat is here to educate our people about who they've been dealing with, who they've been sleeping with, who they've been lusting over, who they've been idolizing, who they've been working for, who they've been supporting, who they've been trying to look like. We're literally we're literally worshiping death forces and call it beauty. That's right. They killed Donnie Hathaway. They experimented on that brother in the Dakota house. The dragon people, they, you know, the serpent people, they you know, they know how to drain our life force. Yet that time has ended, and so must end the Akkad beliefs and the Kut faith. They were programmed to believe. Their time ended in the year 2000, guys. Their time ended in the year 2000. Their power ended in the year 2000. The only reason why they look like they have power, because it's nothing but a hangover, because our people, are not ready to rule self and kind, because they won't let go of this crazy culture. We won't let go of the Mukasu. We won't let them go. Y'all see what they just did to Kyrie Irving? For those who are familiar with the basketball player, how they made him apologize for nothing. The brother didn't do anything but recommends people to watch some video. Right? You heard about it. What's the name of that video? Negroes and Hebrews or something like that. And I'm like, he put a post. All of a sudden, he's accused of being an anti-Semitic. You know? Why? For posting something? I'm like, if you're going to get in trouble for posting something with misinformation or bad information, then that means we should be getting rid of everything in Hollywood. We shouldn't be posting anything, because any kind of anybody who promotes any kind of movie or any kind of stuff is misinformation, bad information. How ridiculous, guys? You know, what's that movie? If Kyrie's gonna get in trouble for promoting that, what about stuff like this? Where is this at? Hold on. This right here. What about this? This not misinformation? A Nordic is the Dathar Horus, right? They're the deities of Egypt. Everybody's Mukasu. This is Satuk, a Mukasu. Like, that's the truth. That's misinformation. It's designed to spellbound the minds of the people with false information, making these dramatic movies about lies, cultural lies, distorted lies that distort the hearts and minds of children who see this. All misinformation should be banned. If someone like Kyrie's going to get in trouble for if they're going to accuse us of putting out misinformation, that's all they do is put out misinformation about culture. You know? But what do? We bow down. We bow down. Why? Why do we bow down? Because we don't support one another. We don't support one another. It's ridiculous. We shouldn't have to bow down to misinformation, but we do. You know, because let's keep going. The religious mind spellbinding of the slave masters of both the Mu'ma'u, the reds, and the Mulban'u, the whites, the Musfa'u, the yellows, the Edomites, and the Mu'arabu, the Arabs, and the Mu'adamu, the Adamites, the Kakasnadu, the tribes Wabanaki, Wapanui, Nuwaubu, Yamasi, Anasazi, Musba'u, Sabians, were all the same, originating from Napata in Africa, from Ghana, Ibi tribe, Akan clan, and Liberia, Bassa tribe, as well as others found today in what is called Africa, and the Dangalawa tribe of Mastan, Sudan. Yet now unite all these into one people as Musba'u, Sabians, a Wu-Sabat, and save the children. The bridge towards your salvation, guys. It's always been about the children, but our people must come to realize we all come from one bloodline. The Sands tribe, the Twa tribe, the little ones, they live in South Africa. They live in the Congo. We descend from these the original ones. We come from them. They have the original culture. Their culture is an egalitarian culture where everyone is that they have true equality. Look it up. They actually live true equality, not the fake equality that you're taught here in America. That's why I said we're not socialists, we're not communists, we're not capitalists, we're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, we're not none of those things. Libertarians and all the Aryans or whatever that silliness. We're Sabians, Musba'u. And our culture is based on egalitarianism. Look it up. The Sands tribe, the Twa tribe, that's how they live. And they were the rulers of this planet. And that's how they ruled. That is the original culture, Wu-Sabat. Culture of harmony. There's no bloodshed among them. There's no strife among them. The Sands tribe, the Twa tribes, they don't have the issues we're dealing with. All of the remaining of us, we're dealing with issues because of the fact that we adapted to foreign cultures and we got away from the original culture. And we've been suffering ever since for the last 6,000 years of suffering. Warring with each other. That's what's up, Jay Goodwin. A lot of us are connected to native bloodlines. You know, my great grandmother told us also. She wrote a book about it. That her great grandparents or my great grandparents were from the Choctaw and the Creek, and the Creek is Yamasee. My great grandmother was the Creek. Her name was Matilda. What was her Matilda? What was her last name? Oh, what was her last name? I gotta look it up. And her first name was Matilda, and her husband name was Spencer. My grandfather was named after him. Actually, these are my great grandparents. They lived in the early 1800s. They were both Native American, husband and wife, and they were kidnapped, sold into slavery. They were sold right in Macon, Georgia, where we were from. A lot of us are. We all have this ancestry, this indigenous ancestry that the disagreeable ones lied and did everything to erase our culture and history. You know, that's right. We're all family. We're all family. We have to get back to our original culture. We lived in peace and harmony. We had no crack houses back then. There was no pimping and hoeing back then. There were no drug stores, and there was no alcohol stores, package stores they call it. We didn't have fast food poison restaurants. We had GMO. We had no pornography back then. We had no strip clubs back then. We weren't smoking crack. Nobody was dying, dropping dead from cancer and high blood pressure. There was no Crips and Bloods, drive-by shootings. We didn't have none of these things in our original culture. We had massive prisons. There was no need for prisons. We didn't have those things. We didn't have orphanage. We didn't have, all these children with no parents to take care of them. None of that stuff existed when we were living on our own without the foreign invasions. It was the foreign invasions that brought all of that chaos to us. Because this is how the Mukaso, the Europeans, were living in Europe. They had all of that crap in Europe, and they transported their garbage all over the globe. And now all of us are addicted, living their poison and dying under it. I am a triune in one being, united in Trinity, indivisible, as an incarnated deity. I am Yanun or Yanan, Yanun or Nengis Zida or Melchizedek. I am Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi al-Khidr. I am Malachi Z. Kobina York Ukran, Dr. York. I was known as the Hutri, Tahuti, or Thought. I was known as Amun Nabab Re'e Achak Patata. Amun Nubi Re'ach Patah. Amanubi Ruach Patah. I exist from eternity to infinity. I am with you always. This is your salvation. Pa Taruk, the way. Pa Sawab, the truth. Wu-Sabat, Pa Takhlus, the salvation. I, Pa Mumbab Yanun, am the salvager of my people and all others who are willing to accept these actual facts. Wu-Sabat. Panen kawun pa patuh, shalil pa taruk layeh takhlus laheh musba'u. This is the opening of the way towards salvation for Sabians. Musba'u, Sabians, know this. Wussabat is authentic way towards salvation, which is inspired. It is inspired by Panatharu, our ancestors, guys. Our ancestors made sure we had this culture. That's why they sent the master teacher to incarnate on this planet. So declare it to whomever, wherever, and do not fear anyone who may retaliate against this doctrine. Wu-Sabat, this proclamation of truth. It is a victorious guidance which shall bring to naught the fictions, the legends, the tales, the myths, the chazabat, the lies and cover-ups of Adamites, the Ta'at, the religions of 6,000 years, their poison religion that they plagued the planet with. Hundreds of millions of our people are under their chaotic religions of bloodshed and their ghost forces. As I was saying earlier, our people must get away from that stuff. That's what's keeping these demons in power, is our people worshiping them in their religions, is giving birth or life to their spirit forces. And their abuses and injustices with the hakak al-hakak at, the actual facts of Wu-Sabat, is the only solution. We deal with actual facts of existence of natural nature. They deal with spookisms and myths and mythologies and spirit gods and goddesses that aren't real. They're fairy tales. Their ghost spirits are real. The straight way for those who accept and repent and return to who they are, not what they became. You gotta get back to who you are by blood and genetics, not what we became. We became Crips, we became Bloods, we became pimps, we became hoes, we became R&B rappers and singers and basketball players, all under their poison system. That's not who we are by blood and DNA. We must get back to who we are by blood and DNA. Akhfush enhu kawun khafush. Kawun khafush. Kawun khafush. That's what's up. Moreover, Wu-Sabat and Musba'u, Sabians, will completely demolish the weak structures of blind faith and fake Akkad beliefs with the Saheh Rachuch, Saheh Hakundum, Saheh Fahum, which is correct knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, which raises you to Saheh Fahum, right overstanding, which becomes Jamaz Saheh Nakush, which is sound right reasoning. That is what Wu-Sabat does for our minds and consciousness. It teaches us to make the highest decision-making abilities and skill sets, reasoning skill sets. We must raise our reasoning ability. This is why we're suffering, because foreigners are outsmarting us, you know. They're outthinking us. And the reason why they're beating us, because we're living their culture and not ours. Guys, I say it all the time. The creator of the culture is the what? Ruler of the culture. And the ruler of the culture is the what? The one who benefits from the culture. So when you go move to China, you have to submit to their culture, which means that makes they're the creators of it, of the Chinese cultures, right? Buddhism, Taoism, Taoism. You have to submit to their lifestyle. And they're the ones who are in charge. And if they're in charge, they're going to want to benefit from it. If you go to India, you got to submit to the Hindu culture. They're the ones in charge. And if they're in charge, they're going to benefit from it. And right here in America, no different. Western culture is about capitalism. It's about Christianity. You got to submit to that. The Europeans came up with this. They're the ones who control it, which means they're the ones who benefit from it. That's why we're suffering. Guys, don't you realize 80% of our people on the continent is living these religious cultures? 80%. It's 1 billion of us on the continent in Africa, and 80% is either Christian, Muslim, or Jew. You see all the power we're giving foreigners, and we're wondering why we're struggling in Africa. I was in Dominican Republic this past summer. That's a black nation, and they all they're doing is worshiping white Jesuses in those churches, and they're wondering why they're struggling. Same crap in Haiti, and they're wondering why they're struggling. You will suffer as long as you serve a foreign culture. Period. Wu-Sabat has no connections to any foreigners. Wu-Sabat is purely for woolly hair, melanated black people on earth. It is our original indigenous culture that predates everyone else's culture. And you build your economics around your culture. Sawab kawum sawab. Sawab kawum sawab. The righteous powers of truthfulness erecting in its place a mighty people of Afaf for the Aka, Africa, world over for all who seek a place of bliss. Misbatia. We must rebuild our Misbatia. Not Africa, but Misbatia. Wherever the Sabian is, that's Misbatia. We must set up Misbatia, or say Sabatia, family. Additionally, Wu-Sabat will remove from the ibab, the heart, the spiritual heart, bitter taste of animosity, and through refreshing ashuk, right? Divine love, provide a new being, new start, thus purifying you from inside out and outside in, affecting your epigenetic achech chatat, which is your etheric body, your spirit body, family, will alter with Wu-Sabat. Once you embody ashuk, you'll transform yourself from the invasions of of every trace of enmity. You'll get rid of all of that negativeness once you embrace Ashuk. Family, you have to pull in, you have to connect to the creative force. You have to become one with the creative force of nine ether. And that will put you in a state of Ashuk. And once you're in a state of Ashuk, then you'll start acting like the sons of the universe. You'll act like the planet. And you'll exist in harmony, and no adverse force will be able to penetrate you. No adverse will be able to lower your continence. You remember, we're such an emotional people, and when someone says the wrong thing the right way, we get hot and we get indignant, and we're ready to freaking fight and harm one another. Those are the lower forces working through us. You must learn to overcome that part of your character that we embodied since we've been here. This is what's leading to our own destruction. And when you take on those lower forces and when you start acting indignant, then it reduces your reasonability. The reason why you want to stay in the power of Ashuk, because your reasonability stays at a high level. And when your reasonability is at a high level, you're able to make the most profound decisions. So when an adversary comes at you, right, and when you're mentally sharp, you can avoid and sidetrack any of their attacks, and you'll know how to counter them. Our people don't know how to counter the foreigners because they're not in the mind of a shack, so their minds are not clear. They get emotional, and when you get emotion, you lose focus. Your decision making reduce, it drops. You know how we get when we get uptight and upset. You can't find a job, or you can't feed your family, or your relationship is going bad, or your partner cheated on you. All of those things are designed to get an emotional charge out of you. And when it does, a negative charge, you take on an adverse spirit when you get upset about it. And that lowers your intellect. Those spirit forces lowers your vibration, and it reduces your intelligence, and you make a bad decision worse, or you make a bad situation worse because you start making bad decisions and you go into attack mode. And this is how these forces play with us. You have to learn how to step back when something adverse happens. Don't automatically react. Analyze the situation first, so you can come to the highest level of reasonability. Don't allow the behavior of others to drop your energies, your vibrations, because that's how it cuts you off from the higher abodes, and your ancestors on the higher dimensions can't communicate with you when you drop down to that beast state. Furthermore, Wu-Sabat will wash away the impurity of adultery for what those living in the Shabbat image of the Muadamu, the Adamite, have accepted as a normal way of living. They must be awakened to who they are and their own way of living of purity, cleaning every unclean, unsafe, unhealthy thing they became over the past 400 years in bondage in the West under the cursed seed of the Mukanu, the Canaanites, the Mubrasu, the leopards, who only seek your demand, blood, your ba'ah, soul, for you to worship their wicked, evil image. Pa mulban salal, the white race. Once and for all, this way, Wu-Sabat will amass the real face of falsehoods of Abraham's Ta'at religions with the penetrating sound of reasonings of confirmation, exposing the Chazabat lies, deceptions, the treachery of all the imposters. Don't believe me? Check it all out. The gates of above are being flung open to expose that their so-called Daga'u, deities of the Bible and the Quran, are Mukhraj'u, aliens, Muzyad'u, Hayin Matha, extraterrestrials who made the Adamite race of fair-skinned people on a month of Tammuz, the day being the 6th, and the year was 3761 BCE. That's the Jewish calendar. That's what they said their Adam was born. Look it up, guys. On the Jewish calendar, they said their Adam was 3661 BCE. They go back 6,000 years. That's their Bible. 6,000 years. That's their origin, not ours. That is the white race's birthday. There's a Sajal record. And from then, the report of them is only Shawash, right? Since they've been on the planet, all we've seen is chaos coming from them, a war culture. Remember that. The Adamites' world is no more than violence, lust, chants, challenge, harabat, wars, games, competitions, drugs, drunkenness, marad, disease, hate, rapes, phobias, and false promises. Dakut, faith, akadat, beliefs, hopes, desires, and greed. These are the foundations of their inner ka'ah, spirit, and their bodies as mu'badu, slaves to the kabeh, nahes, mukraj'u. Guys, anyone who listens to the people who are whistleblowers, who are part of the secret government, they'll tell you all of this. It's not a secret about their being ruled by these freaking ETs. The secret societies, the secret government take orders from these ETs, these Pleiadians and these reptilians. They tell you this. They're evil aliens, right? Who made them like themselves. Refer to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 tells you that they were made in the image of their gods. Genesis chapter 2, 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. Their God formed them. The Laban Muslau, the white race. Once other races, African, Aboriginal, Indians, and Asians, only to Haruf fear and Jesus respect them. I, Pad, Mumbad, Yanun, want you to respect, as in note. He is led by Mudza'at, specters, and you need to take a second look at that Muslau race and stop speculating that they are good or even all Hamadnadu, humanoid. So I say inspect them. All they say, all they do, and you will soon see. Further, Genesis chapter 6, verse 5 says, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And that's what their God had to say about them, that they were evil continually. Yeah, the way we deal with anger, that's why doing the rituals is so important. Moisar, doing the rituals are so important. The breathing techniques, because the key when we deal with emotions, right? Remember, emotions are coming from a heart center, guys. Emotions are coming from the heart center. Why? Because that's where so much blood builds up in the heart, and in the blood is the spirit. In the blood is the spirit. And the blood is the spirit, and the blood is in motions. So that's where the most emotions, the emotional energy is coming from. That's your soul force. That's the center where your heart is. And so you're feeling the emotions of joy, happiness, sadness, frustration, sorrow, right? All of those emotions are moving through the heart center. You can get control over your heart center by learning the breathing techniques. You can get control of your heart center by learning the breathing techniques and putting your mind in a state of blackness. Imagine blackness. Sit in darkness. Put yourself in complete darkness, and you focus on blanking your mind, thoughts, clearing the thoughts, and you breathe in rhythm. You breathe in rhythm. You breathe in rhythm. You practice this as much as you can 3 times a day. In the morning for 10 minutes, in the afternoon around 3 p.m. or so for 10 minutes. And before you go to bed, let's say 9 p.m. for 10 minutes. Breathe in rhythm. Turn off all the lights. Sit in a chair. Relax yourself. Get a glass of water. Drink the water, right? And then start breathing in blackness. Clear the mind. Clear the mind. And as you do it, now it's going to take a while. It'll take you about 30 days consistent. Once you do it consistently for about 30 days, what I'm saying, dedicate yourself, discipline yourself, do not procrastinate. Once you're able to do that, you'll begin to feel your spirit energy. You'll begin to feel it after 30 days of consistency. And then you can begin to get control over your emotions. You can begin to get control over your emotions. Remember, these lower spirit forces are creating all kinds of issues in your life to bring down your continence. That's what they do. The spirit forces feed off your suffering. It feeds off your anger. It feeds off your lust. That's what these lower forces do. You are like their food source. You're like a battery to them. And because you have melanin, remember, we have the strongest energy force. We have the strongest emotional force. So who do you think the ghost force loves? The ghost spirits love Negroes because we have the most energy to feed on. And that's why everything on the planet is geared towards frustrating us, persecuting us, keeping us in a depressed state. That's why the whole planet, all straight hair people, are focused on pissing us off, abusing us, disrespecting us, because those spirit forces are commanding them to do that to us, to get us to create an emotional charge out of us so that they can feed on us. Guys, I told you about that movie. Check out that movie. What's that? Odd Thomas. It talks about how the spirit forces feed off of people. I think there was a movie about that too. A cartoon, a Pixar movie. What is it? Monsters, Inc.? Look at that cartoon movie, Monsters, Inc. That movie is about that too. How the spirits, those ghost forces, feed off of people's suffering. It feed off of children's fear. Let's keep going. Because of the mixing with you, when Abraham, the Chaldean of Mesopotamia, raped Hagar, the Egyptian of Africa, refer to Genesis chapter 16. It was their own Gadau gods who put the enmity in them. Refer to Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, talks about that. And they in you. So once we mix in with them, family, this is how we got these spirit forces in us. Guys, this goes back thousands of years. We had these issues going on. That's why we said this goes back 6,000 years of chaos we've been dealing with. Guys, you got to remember, we as the Nagado people, Nagadnatu, we are millions of years old on just this planet alone. So the problems we're talking about the problems that have been on the planet for 6,000 years, because the planet was invaded by these spirit forces and different ETs who conquered us and took the planet over and created a hybrid race from our genetics called the Caucasian. The Caucasian, they used our genes to create the Caucasian race. These beings came to the planet and conquered us. We are part of a galactic order, We're part of a universal order, and we forgot all of it and bound us to the planet. And we're trapped here on the planet, and we keep dying and reincarnating because we forgot how to travel the celestial realms. This is a freaking prison planet. We must wake up, family. We must wake up. So, Nagadnau, Negroids, those of you who have this unnatural nature of them, who have enmity within you, yet still claim to be a Musba'u, Sabian. Read and understand Ashuk is our priority as natural natures, Mukwanu. Therefore, if you can overcome the Hajj, the spell of Kingo, Leviathan, stop respecting their uniforms, both Akadat, mental, as poisons, and Khatat al, physical, as force. Stop being their pets, their slaves, their attack dogs, their servants, their tools, their protectors of what they have taken from you as Native Americans or African, Muabadu, slaves. Stop being his Negro and nigger. If you learn to Natuk, speak Misbatia, Sabayat, Lahajnun, our language, and speak it to the Tapal world with literary articulation and brilliance. Yet, if you do not consider Ashuk, your speech is for naught. It would have been better and preferable that you kept silent, did not speak Misbatia, a Wu-Sabat, as a Musba'u, without Ashuk, guys. You must have Ashuk. Remember, that's the first principle that we talk about all the time, right? The first principle in our culture is Ashuk. You must tap in to that force. That's what will protect you from the lower forces. Ashuk. Rewatch the lecture we did on Ashuk as a remembrance, family. Even if you are gifted, endowed with skills, talents, wisdom, parent through your Nasabat genes from the supernatural, and perform these gifts, yet without Ashuk, you will still lack integrity. Neither is any Kahenus, divineness residing in you. You must regrow it inside outward, guys. You must regrow. You must regrow your spirit force. You must regrow connection to your higher self. You must take on the energies, the forces of absolute nature. Become in tune with those forces. That way, that'll give you the strength to block all the negativeness, the addictions, the sufferings we're dealing with. You must overcome all of those things. You have the powers within you. You're a God man and God woman as Nagaru. We are the deities of these planets. We're not humans, you know. We're God beings who fell from grace. But you must restore yourself as gods and goddesses. You have the power to do it. You have the power to do it. For in Hakakiyat, reality, you are hypocrites without Ashuk, right? You can't be Musba'u when you don't have Ashuk. It's impossible. It's impossible. Even when you distribute the doctrine and or Lakun teach it and look as if you do good deeds and sacrifice for others, yet without Ashuk, it would be as if you had neither contribute anything nor made yourself in service to Wu-Sabat. Ashuk is patience with others, being tender towards the impoverished, caring, Nesermun, helpful, and kind. Ashuk does not embrace jealousy, hate, pride, ego, demonstrate or practice aggression, slander, or gossip. Those Musba'u, Sabians of Ashuk, treat everyone kindly, does not get upset quickly, or seek personal desires frequently. Guys, you must control your desires. You must control your desires. You must control your desires, because that's how the lower forces, they feed on you for that. Why do you think I go over the principles every single week as a reminder, right? We do this every single week. Every time we do our discussions, we're always going over these principles, family. What does it mean to be a Sabian? A Sabian is someone who is thoughtful and cares. Someone is helpful and honest. Someone's responsible and hardworking. Someone demands justice and honorable. Someone's righteous and humble. Someone's excited and cheerful. Someone's peaceful and loving and peaceful. Someone's kind and considerate. Someone's neat, clean, and orderly. That's what a Sabian is. Ashuk does not reveal over oppression, yet over freedom and ma'at. Remember, ma'at, justice, our culture, we live by the principles of ma'at. Remember that, right? Check out the lecture we did on ma'at. We live by the principles of ma'at. Where is it? Right here. This is our Master Secrets number 18, part 2. These accepted religions are no more than systems of the cock, faith, akkad, belief, worship of unknown spirits, right? Stop worshiping unknown spirits. Tell your family, tell your friends, stop worshiping those freaking spirit forces they call God. Mala'at, rituals to become possessed by spirit forces, familiar specter that influence the actions of peoples and things in a negative way, reacting on and from that negative demand blood, now in many of us by rape or acceptance, hypnotized by the media. The original Hazab culture of black people on Taha, earth, better known as Wunuwap, and the persons, Nuwaubu, Nuwapians, our sun culture, our culture's sun culture, with children of the sun, all melanated, woolly haired people are descendants with spirit children of the sun, not physical. Our physical bodies come from the earth. Our spirit bodies come from the sun. Sun culture, also called Patahites, and Mukmanu, the Melanites, which is the very first and original culture within the Kalei Makwam, the omniverse, to this Wahu Makwam universe of ours. The culture of Wunuwap of Nuwapians is based on the principles of what is called sound right reasoning, meaning it is the highest possible takru, decision-making skills utilized by any being in pa-pa'ut, the all existence, power of choice of knowing or guessing willpower as factologists, ontologists, removal of doubts by hakak facts. An individual who is intelligent enough to live by way of Wunuwap as Nuwaubu, speaking Nuwapui, or we say Misbatia or Musba'u, and on any of our holy lands worldwide, Nuwapia, or we say Sabatia or Misbatia, realize that they must study, advocate, and live by the binding rules of Patarak, following and adhering to the principles of Ma'at, which stands for righteousness, justice, balance, and order. This is our culture. This is our way. Sabians, you are obligated to teach this. Ashuk accepts whatever a Musba'u says as true and a fact, yet turns away from the hypocrites, guys. Only Musba'u are honest and true to their word. Their word is bond. If you're a true Sabian, your word is bond. We don't have to question your word. If you're a true Sabian. Wu-Sabat is for Ashuk, eternal across the eons of time. Even when the Khatet al-Tapal, physical world, shall cease and voices become silent, Ashuk, a Wu-Sabat, will still exist triumphantly. If and when the true Musba'u Sabians from among us declare that they are Ashuk and are our Muisar, or offspring and tribal ones, they are neither hypocrites nor have they misled themselves. For our Muisar family of Wu-Sabat with divine love are truly our prodigy, and we cherish our Hazab culture for Tarism, animism, as Musba'u, Sabians, Pa Mukhlasu, the saviors. Guys, we are the saviors because we have the salvation doctrine. We're the ones that's teaching salvation for our people so we can stop all this death that we're going through. All know this as of 1962 to 63 to 1970, when the seal of Daniel was opened by Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, myself, today known as Malachi Z. Kobina York Ukrad. With Wu-Sabat, it has come, Pa Tarak, the way, Pa Hakak al-Hakak at, the actual facts, are now revealed. Guys, I hope you realize Pa Tarak is a culture that's practiced throughout the universe. Pa Tarak is a culture that's practiced throughout the universe. This is the original culture of the multiverse. It's still practiced in Egypt and the Sudan under the guise of Islam. They announce it different. We say Pa Tarak, they say Tariq. That's how they enunciate it. Tariq, the way. For those who are Star Wars fans, it's even in Star Wars. The Mandalorian. If there's a series, a group of individuals call themselves the Mandalorians. Look it up. If you like Star Wars, I love sci-fi stuff. And the Mandalorians, their culture is the way. They call it the way. It's the culture of all spiritual systems, actually, family. It is driving away deceit and the Wu-Sabat, the lies of the Bible and the Quran taught for the past 4,000 years by Nuwaubu, the Adamites, and the Edomites, the white and red races of Kakasnadu and the Arabnadu. Yet from 1970, you Musba'u have the rightly guided pathway to guide all who have been led astray. The great judgmental day of the Nuwaubu is no longer approaching. It is beyond them since the year 2000. Their time is up, family. It is our time to rule, but you have to give up their culture. The end of their Wakut time. First, guys, that's why, remember, each student of Wu-Sabat must resurrect. That's why the rituals are so important. You must develop the willpower to practice the rituals each and every day to resurrect. Once you resurrect, that's it. That game, set, match. All of us should be on that path towards resurrection. Learn to open your third eye. Learn to make contact with your higher self. Learn to communicate with your ancestors on a higher abode. No one can ever escape their judgment hour. Their judgment 1/2 hour from 1970 to 2000 and from 2000 to 2030. As you see, the 30 minutes equals their 30 years, totaling their final hour. For those who do not know, those are Bible prophecies that come out of the book of Revelations, talk about the hour and the half hour, the timeline. And that half hour stood for 30 years. And that was the timeline the master teacher was given to resurrect. The first resurrection happened from 1970 to the year 2000. And the second resurrection, or the double resurrection, went from 2000 to 2030. And you see from the year 2000, all the Nuwaubu, Adamites, Mukanu, Canaanites, Edomites, the Kakasnadu, Caucasoids, and the Arabnadu, the Arabs, the Arabs are in utter disarray. Katul, killing each other. You see, they're killing each other. They're killing each other. They said the United States really provoked that war that Russia is fighting with Ukraine. Because they were saying the Russians really didn't want to go to war. They was forced, they said. And the Russians want to negotiate, they said, and it's the United States that don't want to. That's forcing the Ukrainians to fight. This is according to the insiders now, not the news, because they lie on CNN, they lie on MSNBC, they lie on Fox News. But if you listen to the insiders, they're telling the real news about really what's going on behind the scenes. It's this warmongering country. This country they're accusing, and they're accusing NATO. That they're the ones that enticing these wars. Why? Because of what President Dwight Eisenhower said in the 1950s, just before he left office. What did he say? Beware of what? The military-industrial complex. They make money off of war. All they know is war. They can't live without war. What's the military budget of the United States? $1 trillion a year for war. They have to have war. That's how they sustain their economic system, based on war. So they have to create an enemy to justify their military budgets. And the insiders said once they have no more human enemies, they said they're gonna create a fictitious war with extraterrestrials. And that's gonna be the next war ground, fighting ETs. They're gradually exposing humans that you're not alone. Extraterrestrials are real, but they're not good guys. And that's going to be the next justification of the military budget. There's a ton of insiders. One, Corey Good, look him up. Corey Good, he's on YouTube. His YouTube channel called Spear Bean Alliance. He talks about it all the time. David Wilcox, another guy, he talks about it all the time. Stephen Greer, another guy. All these guys deal with the UFO stuff. He talk about it all the time. But you got military insiders. You got all kinds of people talking about all types of stuff. This guy right here. Hold on, I'll bring him up. He worked for, I believe he was an intelligence officer for the Navy. If I can find him, let me see. Find this guy. He was an intelligence officer for the Navy. This guy right here, he's an intelligence officer for the Navy. He's an expert on nuclear war and foreign affairs, and he's explaining how the United States was the ones who instigated the war in Ukraine. This guy right here. And they keep lying on CNN and MSNBC, making people think that the Ukrainians can win this war, and they can't. And he's explaining why they can't militarily. That's right, Lockheed Martin, demons, all of these demonic corporations. They're warmongers, all of them. Warmongers. So all they know is killing. Pasawab, the truth is for those who seek it of the entire Hamanadu, humanoid. Those who wish to know the Hakat facts, find the bridge towards their Takhlus, salvation. Those who wish not to know the hakikat facts blindly fall from the bridge by being led by the blind. Takut, faith, right? Most of our people don't want to know the truth. What they say, ignorance is bliss, or we should say e-bliss, the devil's ways, the demon's ways, is ignorance, leads to your own destruction. Yet, even the hardened, most stubborn of our own, when they read Wu-Sabat, will then overstand and accept it as revealed from them as theirs. As for those who obscure Wu-Sabat by covering their eyes so that they may not discern the faith from the kut, faith, or that which will come to pass from that which they amul, hope will happen. No dakut, faith, can overpower qadar, fate. Destiny, no matter how loud they preach, have faith. They only demonstrate their erroneous jahal and ignorance. And as for those of our own race and people of color who are plugging their yazad at ears with their nashal yadad at fingers, not to hear the truth about this unnatural nature muhash with such might, right? They don't want to hear who the mukasu is. They want to live in blindly. They don't want to accept who the mukasu is in their nature. They don't want to accept the spirit forces that occupy them. They just warmongers. They don't want to accept that. They have absolutely condemned themselves out of sight and are undoubtedly lost from the purity of their own takhlus, salvation, and Wu-Sabat. And as for those of our people who departed or gone astray from Wu-Sabat, it is now disclosed to explain our way concerning the difference between the old schools to the final, from Nubian Islamic Hebrews to Ansar Allah community to Wu-Sabat, that which I came to give from that which you wanted me to give you of Abrahamism. There was no compulsion in those religions of Abrahamism. Yet in Wu-Sabat, you must know this sawab truth to free yourself, guys. If you don't live the culture, there's no way you're going to raise your vibration. There's no way you're going to communicate with your ancestors on a higher abode. You are obligated to do that as a Sabian. No excuses. I say, therefore, why don't you pick back up the books of Wu-Sabat and read? You will feel the genetic explosions take place from inside of you. I have beamed and I have screamed and shouted this truth as Jameh Sahan Nakush, sound right reasoning, into the hearts of each who will listen or read. You as Afaf Re'e Ka'o Africans this time have been singled out to save the Tapal. Each race have their own savior. Guys, we are the savior to our race by spreading Wu-Sabat. Never forget this. Now it is Africa's time for your Mukhlas, savior, and Munzar, warner. I am that Mushkhas person. I have put this proclamation in writing for you to read. So read. And know your assignment as Mukhlasu, saviors, while Padnatharu, the overseers, are carefully observing who is who and has become a what. Remember, our ancestors exist on the higher dimensions. They can see everything that's happening on these realms. They're in tune with these. All the ETs are watching. You know, this is like a TV show to them, what's going on this planet. Some of them, it's a school for a lot of beings, actually. They study planets. They study inhabitants on planets. It's like an education. When you raise up, when you resurrect into the higher realms, that becomes your education. You start studying different planets. You start studying star systems, galaxies. You start traveling to different realms, as in your education. Their education is on a much higher level than what humans are dealing with. And we, as Sabians, all of us are striving to be initiated into those schools. I have recited the Hakakat, the actual facts, the confirmation, the truth in your hearing and before your discerning eyes, even echoing in your Ibabat hearts. Then after 2000 AD, I placed Wu-Sabat in your hands, this most powerful message, so that it may cleanse you from ignorance of the Abrahamism, Mosesism, Jesusism, Mohammedism, a bondage by blind Dakut at faith and the cat at beliefs, not facts. I am here to usher in the next 24,000 years. Our story, the hereafter, guys, is up to us to set the standards for the culture of Wu-Sabat for the next 24,000 years. Y'all hear that? It's time for us to get it right so that we will restore ourselves back to power as Musba'u. All woolly haired people are children of Musba'u, are children of the sun, if they're intelligent enough to accept the culture. Of course, many of our people, they're enslaved to these religions and they won't listen. But for those who are intelligent enough to accept Wu-Sabat, this is what we will build with. The next 2000 AD, the year 2000 AD was our new beginning of the next 24,000 years. Pre-chance all of you will wake up from the Hajj Shila Nawam, the spell of sleep, the long abysmal time of righteous, jahal and ignorance, and recognize who you are as Mumlanul, Mukhradul, the Melanite children of the Shamash, the sun. All of you who look on yet refuse to accept Wu-Sabat, I have received it and presented it to you in the Misbatiha Lahaj, the Sabeg language, a miraculous event for this day and time, clearly unique. None before me did or could Lakun teach all this in one physical lifetime. It is given to you through me. Many will claim it's only Abariya, which is Hebrew, or Arabiya, which is Arabic. They are very wrong. Both Hebrew and Arabic come out of ancient Maghreb, Egypt, as did all true Rahug, knowledge, and the Hakamdum, wisdom, the world over. And the Mukhma'u Egyptians were pure black, nappy hair, Afafra'e Ka'u, Africans. For Abraham, the Mu'abar'u Hebrew, and Hagar, the Mukhma'u Egyptian, birthed Ishmael, the very first Mu'arabu, Arab. A Madak word that only means mixed seed or mingled genes, those of Abraham and Hagar. And as they spoke, so also their sons spoke a mixture of Chaldean and Egyptian, which became Sabaic. Yet as Hagar made sure her Sawa son by Abraham, the Chaldean married an Egyptian Negroid like herself. Refer to Genesis chapter 21, verse 21. The children being the children of Ishmael, the first one to be of this mixture will call Arab in Hebrew, and Arab and Arabic means mixed with. Refer to Hebrew Strong number 6151. That's the Hebrew Strong, the Bible dictionary, guys. Okay, so Abraham, keep in mind, Abraham was a Chaldean, basically was a Phoenician Hindu mixed with African DNA. He had straight black hair, he was black skinned, and he took an African woman, an Egyptian woman who had woolly hair, who was Hagar, and they had a child, Ishmael. So Ishmael was black, he was mixed, which he had that Hindu DNA, but he took an African wife, and so they had black children. right? But the language of Sabaic was spoken in Africa, in Ethiopia. That's why the Eritreans, they get mad at us because they're like, we're Sabians, right? You're not Sabians. Why y'all call yourself Sabians? The people who live in Eritrea. Eritrea is right next to Ethiopia. It used to be a part of Ethiopia. Excuse me. The scroll that I'm reading from is called The Bridge Towards Salvation. This scroll came out last year. For those who do not know. This scroll is about what it means to be a Sabian. This scroll is about living a culture, Wu-Sabat. This scroll is about the importance of Wu-Sabat. This scroll is about why we should not be living a culture of the Muadamu. Right? This is a very important scroll that came out. That's why I'm reading it to you. What Wussabat is all about. To live the culture Wu-Sabat and to give up this deaf culture that we've been born into. Y'all see all the deaf? I showed you in the beginning. The deaf culture. You guys have to explain that to our people. This deaf culture, and they worshiping these ghost spirit forces that they're calling God or they're calling Allah. They're calling on ghost spirit forces, unseen spirits. Why do you think we teach open your third eye? Once you learn to open your third eye, you'll be able to see the spirits. You'll be able to see interdimensionally. And that's how you can block them from possessing you or your family and friends. You have the power to do it. That's why they don't teach it in their religions. They don't teach you spiritual knowledge so that you don't know when you're being possessed or your family and friends are being possessed. That's why they keep everyone ignorant of spiritual knowledge, because in spiritual knowledge, that's where power resides. Never forget that, family. Power resides in spiritual knowledge. Everyone knows that but us. And once you relearn your spiritual science of Wu-Sabat, your power as a great people will be restored. But you must conquer your addictions. You must overcome your addictions. That's keeping our vibrations low. All of us is on the same path, myself included. We must conquer our addictions. There's no other way, family. There is no other way. That's what it means to be a Sabian. That's what it means to be responsible. Be the change you want to see in others. Be the change you want to see in others. Stop allowing the lower forces to lower your consciousness, to put you in a depressed state, to put you in an angry state, to put you in a lustful state. Those are the forces in your DNA. Overcome those. You do it by doing the rituals. You do it by keeping your mind in the right place, talking. That's why you come to these classes. That's why it's good to listen to brothers like myself to help give you strength, mental strength, that you can do it. You have the power to do it, to overcome your addictions. Overcome your lust. The power is within you. Guys, you know you can communicate with the master on the plane of force, you know. Once you learn, all Sabians, once you develop yourself spiritually, all Sabians are obligated to learn how to go out of body. And once you go out of body, you can communicate with the master. The master Ben told us that. He's not cut off from us, from those of us who are truly want to develop themselves spiritually. For all the people who have questions about our culture, questions about our doctrine, that's how you can find out directly from the master himself, by developing yourself spiritually, learn to go out of body, and you can literally communicate with him on the spiritual realms. This is the power of Wu-Sabat. What other culture teaches you this? No one. The only people that learn stuff like what I'm saying are people who are part of, freaking secret societies are teaching this. The secret government, they are doing all these things. That's how they have their power. I told you, power comes from spiritual knowledge. Power comes from spiritual knowledge. We're the highest spiritual force on the planet, in the universe. We are children of nine ether. There are no spirit force or spirit sciences higher than us. Why do you think they work day and night to keep our people ignorant of their spiritual powers? Because they know once we restore our spiritual powers, game, set, match. They know that. And they'll do anything to stop us from growing and developing spiritually. But the truth is out. The doctrine is out. That they fell in trying to stop the master teacher. He got the information out. And the information just spreading all over the world. And there will be people who will take this really, really seriously, and they will transform. Won't you be one of them? Question: do spiritual gifts go away? Spiritual gifts go away only when you lose your spiritual knowledge. So like us as Black people, we had spiritual powers, and we lost all our spiritual powers when we lost our spiritual knowledge. That's what happened. You lose your spiritual powers, or you lose your spiritual gifts. When you lose your spiritual powers, you lose your spiritual powers when you stop living the culture that develops your spiritual powers. When you convert to a foreign culture, that's how you lose your spiritual powers. Because what happens is your body is vibrating on a certain morphic resonance frequency. Okay, that's why I talk about morphic resonance. I haven't really did a detailed discussion on it because that's like another level of teachings yet. But I talk about it all the time right here. Your morphic resonance, the body, everything in nature has a morphic resonance signature, a vibratory signature. You have a natural nature vibratory signature. Now, your culture you live supposed to be in harmony with your resonancy. So when you take on a foreign culture from another people, each race have their own morphic resonant frequency. So the Caucasian has a resonant frequency. The Hindus have a resonant frequency. The Chinese have a resonant frequency. So when you adapt their cultures, you tune into their frequency. Okay? And what it does, it disconnects you from your natural frequency, and it cuts you off from your powers. That's why you don't ever supposed to live another foreigner's culture, because you alter your resonancy. That's why you don't ever supposed to alter anything in your body. You don't ever supposed to get a tattoo on your body. You don't ever supposed to get like a filling, like in your tooth, in your body. Anything that's unnatural. You're not supposed to eat unnatural foods. Nothing. You're not supposed to speak foreign languages. All of that changes your morphic resonant frequency. Once your resonancy shifts away from your natural signature, you lose all your powers. And so the ETs who invaded this planet, they knew that science, and that's how it was able to take us over by altering our resonancy, and we lost our powers. And basically put us in a state of amnesia. So once you restore your spiritual powers, you regain all your memories. You have access to your past lives. You'll remember your origins the way the master teacher does. He's teaching you how to do that. He's literally teaching you how to restore all your memories and all your powers. But the problem is we can't conquer the addictions. All of us are slaves to addictions. That's the problem. Actual facts, Allison. Actual facts. So the goal of all students of Wu-Sabat is to restore yourself. And it starts with conquering your addictions. I'll say that constantly. Because that's what they got us. They got us lusting, you know? We can't control our emotions. Remember, right? We talk about this. Leviathan feeds off your ignorance. That's why people don't like to study. Even a lot of students of so-called Sabians, they don't really study the books. They don't study. They're not studying every day. The reason why you keep reading the books every day is to keep Wu-Sabat in your mind. Why? Because the Mukasu keeps his stuff in your mind. That's why they keep advertising to you. They keep these TV shows. You got the cell phone every day. They constantly got you thinking about them, making money for them, working for them. They constantly got you in there, you know, thinking about them. You know, you stay in their mind, especially speaking their language. So the only way to help counteract that is by keep reading the books every day, doing the rituals every day. That keeps your mind in Wu-Sabat. You have to counter that. This is why you have to have your own community, so that you can build your whole culture that's on your frequency of vibration. Why do you think they attacked us? That's why they attacked us and took our community from us and took the master away. So that because they're trying to stop us from raising our vibration. That's how they can control us. That's what's up, Capre, in the tomb with that A. Actual facts. So this is the war, family. This is the war. All right, so we had our time, and I hope this was edifying. You know, I think it was very important information. I'm always telling everybody to you know, always rewatch these discussions, study these discussions, take from it the things that will help enhance you, develop you, to develop your strength, your powers, your abilities. Remember, you guys are y'all deities, y'all living deities, man. Just all you gotta do is restore yourself. The power is in you. The power is in you. You're born with that birthright. We really are. Okay, we're gonna do our 9 o'clock prayers. For those who are familiar with it, we're gonna do it in our Lahaj Sabayat. Those who are not, all you have to do is read it. We have the translations right here below, right? And we're gonna go from there, and we're gonna get ready. Okay. Bade Kalam Namasat Wufad called Ahmad Kasamun Shalal Pa'ut Pa Takyud Anuki Jawef Pa Ashuk Impa Pa'ut Wu Kale Ashuk Kawun Jawef Nia Anuka Kasamun Impa Pa'ut Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Kasamun Imnia Anuki Wahu Ama Pa Pa'ut Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Wahu Ama Nia Naku Kador Naju Ahmad Kasamun Impa Pa'ut Wussabout Amam Muskasun, Nakuk Kador Kawan Kalab Afaf Nakuk Dayad Jawep Pa Paut, Amah Wase Amah Dayani Kumun Lake Bakui Jawep Pa Paut, Anuki Yababi Nafasti, Pa Paut Kumun, Anuki Pa Paut Kador, Nakuk Kador, Pa Paut Amu, Nakuk Amu, Lahahum Manahnu, Lahahum Manahnu, Ahmata Karahum, Ahmata Karakum, Ahmata Karanu, Ahmata Jueftia, Ahmata Niyawu Anuki, whom Yaye Ashukre E Asmua Jayenun, Yaye Nataru Afuknun, Anunata Mukra Ukum, Yaye Nataru Afuknun, 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 Yaye Nataru Nun, Anun, Atun, Atun, Amun. Namazo Wahu, Yaye Mufaku. Yayehu, Yayehu, Yaye Nataru. Yaye Soye, Yaye Nataru. Yaye Hika, Yaye Nataru. Ankum Atapa Mufaku. Yayehu, Yaye Nataru. Ankum Atapa Mufaku. Wu Anun Ata Mukra'ukum. Wu Ankum Ata Musanun. Yayehu, Yaye Nataru. Aro Muklasnum Atum Re'e. Yayehu, Yaye Nataru. Namazo Atu Aron Hu. Yaye Muktam Wafunun. Ankum Mane Yake Laduda Muslafunun. Wu Muisa'unun. Mane Yake Sawura Paba. Mane Yake Kawuna Ka'u. Mane Yake Atachach. Mane Yake Kawuna Bashawu Damam. Yaye Nataru Muktamunun. Aro Muftatnun. And who Kawun Manzam and Pan Nataru. Aro and who Kawun Baba Yananun. Aro and who Kawun Atum Re'e. Haro and who Kawun Haro. Namazo Talu. Yaye Nataru Muslafunun. Afudnu Mene Pan Muchwa'u. Afudnu Mene Gaha'an. Yaye Nataru Afudnun. Mane Saya Khayara. Afudnun Afudniya. Afudniya. Yaye Nataru Nun. Namazo Rabu Pa Takmui. Nakuk Talub Takmui Bi Pa Nataru. Mane Pele Lawi Tenenu. Kaleh Ranu Ani at the Lehe Pa Nataru. Wu Kaleh Namazo Atni at the Lehe Kiyat Yatun Laye Pa Nataru. Pa Sawa Wu Pa Tara. Anonymous Fa Kawun. Pa Sawa Wu Pa Tara. Z Kawuna Nazula Lahe Ankum. Mane Maspat Wu Maasa. Ame Hadayan Un. Wu Damal Un. Mane Muslafukum. Wu Nataru. Aju Layena Fasukum. Afuk Shane Kawunkum. Pa Sawa Wu Pa Tara. Pa Hadayan Wu Pa Damal. En Nun Tawa Ankum. Lahe Penen Damal Wu Shafe. En Nun Tawa Ankum. Lahe Tim Nasui Nun. En Nun Tawa Ankum. Lahe Ashukuma. Ankum at the Muslafunun. Anun at the Mukhra'ukum. Anun Talub Nasar Kuma. Anun Talub Nasar Kuma. And so nun Kahen Nataru. And so nun Muslafunun. Anun at the Muspatu. Anun. Atun. Amun. Yaye Nataru Nun. Yaye Muftaru. Yaye Nataru. Yaye Atum Ure. Yaye Natar. Yaye Nun. Yaye Natar. Yaye Nun Tat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Ha. Yaye Natar. Yaye Hatat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Kak. Yaye Natar. Yaye Kaktat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Amun. Yaye Natar. Yaye Amun Tat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Atum. Yaye Natar. Yaye Shishash. Yaye Natar. Yaye Tafafna Tat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Sabab. Yaye Natar. Yaye Natat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Rastat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Ahsar. Yaye Natar. Yaye Nababta Hatat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Satach. Yaye Natar. Yaye Hara. Yaye Natar. Yaye Habtwi. Yaye Natar. Yaye Anaktat. Yaye Natar Tat. Yaye Aha Haratwi. Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Nafartum, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Manthu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Bapti, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Sachem Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Hata Haratat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Baibis, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Patata, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Basastat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Imhatat, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Yehu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Matat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Mahart, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Chafafre, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Mishkidat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Hre Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Chintimentiu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Hika, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Ma'at, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Renen Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Shai, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sashat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Mafdat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sabak, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Nanap, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Chanub, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Chadas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Patatanu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Soye, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Haktat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Amas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Sadatwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Atum Ree, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Dahutwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Patata Wadat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sakatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Ha, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Nehebka, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Sakar, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Ba'a, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Akar, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imharatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Wapawatat, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Sakhar Hataptat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Manitat Sakartat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Suyetat, Ya Ye Nathartat, Ya Ye Gadatat, Ya Ye Nathartat, Ya Ye Asatinu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Bahatat, Ya Ye Nathartat, Ya Ye Chadevtat, Ya Ye Nathartat, Ya Ye Manaktat, Ya Ye Nathartat, Ya Ye Chamem, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Mahatwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Kabebsanenafav, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Damatafar, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Manitat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nasat, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imdadad Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nachakbatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sachatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Anaktat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Dadad, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Tu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Wahoo, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Yisas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Anach, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye After it, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Satat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sachatwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Emat, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Nanah, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imnuit, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imsataktwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Mutaltat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Warahashafaf, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Manatwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Amun Re'e, Ya Ye Nathar, Yehu and Ata Kaleh Jawef Paut, Ah Nun Re'e, Ah Tun Re'e, Ah Tun Re'e, Ah Mun Re'e. Yeah. Amun. 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 Okay, Jennifer. Wawad. For those who do not know, after we do the prayers, we do our chants, right? And that's it. Chanting recalibrates your body. And then once you finish your chants, you're supposed to go into a meditated state. Okay. Once you do your chants, you're supposed to go into a meditative state. Now that your body's being recalibrated, you communicated with the Nadar. And when you go into a meditative state, now you want to listen to a response. Because as soon as you start making prayers, doing these chants, it acts like a beacon, a signal to the Nathar, and they now start paying attention. And that's why you learn to go into a meditative state, because they're trying to communicate. They will communicate. And as you're developing yourself in meditation, you'll be able to pick up their messages. It'll start with downloads. You'll get them. Okay. And as you develop yourself in raising your vibration, the downloads will become clearer and clearer until you actually can see them and physically communicate with them. That is a journey that all students of Wu-Sabat are on. And with that being said, I bless you all, Muisar. Excuse me, because I had some sniffles, unfortunately. But I worked through it, no matter what. And I will see you guys next week. We'll continue our discussions. Wadu, Muisar.